All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles, Germans who rule well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Now, yeah, they're pretty much they're rolling forward in the UK. I honestly thought it was gonna be in the USA first, but it just says here in the Guardian, COVID vaccinations will begin next week, says bumbling Boris Johnson. Mass immunizations against coronavirus will begin next week. Bumbling Boris Johnson announced on Wednesday as he moved to defuse a diplomatic row over claims that Brexit was responsible for the fast-track approval of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. The, the Prime Minister said hopes of normal life returning in the spring had given way to sure and certain knowledge that we will succeed after Britain became the first country in the Western world to approve a COVID vaccine. Lucky me. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency (MHRA) said no corners had been cut in licensing the jab in record time. Yes, it is very record time. The vaccine had been subjected to the most thorough scrutiny by experts working round the clock. The UK has bought 40 million doses of the vaccine, which has been shown to have 95% efficacy. So, what about the 5%, bruv? Jonathan Van Tam, a deputy chief medical officer for England, said the announcement of the news on Wednesday morning had made him feel quite emotional. Let's look at this. Efficacy basically means efficiency, brother. Efficacy. These people and their friggin' words, their ability to produce a desired or intended result. So what? That's 95%. So out of 100 people, 5 people are going to have adverse reactions. When you tally that up to the millions, that's, say UK has 100. Now, UK has like 60, 70 billion population. Let's just see the population of UK. But 5% of that. $66 billion. So what's that? 10% of that is 6 billion. 10% is 6, so at least 3 million are going to have an adverse effect. Those are not good numbers, bro. At least 3-4 million. Jonathan Van Tam, a deputy chief medical officer for England, said the announcement of the news on Wednesday morning made him feel quite emotional. Yes, because they get very happy when they realize they're going to destroy people's lives. Because it said, what's that scripture? Awake not from their beds unless they do evil. Yeah, I think this is it. This is Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So yeah, that's why he's emotional. He said once all of the vulnerable groups highlighted as a priority by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization had been protected, including elderly people and those with underlying medical conditions, it should help to prevent 99% of deaths from the virus, which has claimed up to 75,000 lives in the UK. And I don't know if that's true, because most of the people I know who've come into contact and had COVID, they've recovered. I've not known anyone that's died from it, unless it's some extenuating circumstances which I can't verify. But the Prime Minister also moved to prevent what he called a huge moment being tarnished by, we'll just leave that alone. Now, he said it's been approved in record time. Now, COVID started in last year, 2019, like November, December-ish. Really started hitting May-ish. So what, a year? Let's say 2 years just to be safe. They're saying vaccine development, testing and regulation. Vaccine development is a long, complex process often lasting 10 to 15 years and involving a combination of public and private involvement. The current system for developing, testing and regulating vaccines developed during the 20th century as the groups involved standardized their procedures and regulations. In the United States, at the end of the 19th century, several vaccines for humans had been developed. There were smallpox, rabies, plague, cholera, typhoid vaccines. However, no regulation of vaccine production existed. On July 1st, 1901, the US Congress passed an act to regulate the sales of viruses, serums, toxins, and analogous products. This is why a lot of this stuff is patented, like HIV, so on and so forth. Later referred to as the Biologics Control Act, even though biologics appears nowhere in the law because it goes against their own constitution. But okay, let's carry on. This was the first modern federal legislation to control the quality of drugs. This act emerged in part as response to 1901 contaminations event in St. Louis and Camden involving smallpox vaccines and diphtheria antioxidant. Let's see what happened in the 91 contaminations. But these people are saying he has a 95% efficiency rate or efficacy. 2 tetanus outbreaks in 1901 from contaminated diphtheria antitoxin in St. Louis. So basically, their doses were contaminated in St. Louis, Missouri, and contaminated smallpox vaccine in Camden, New Jersey, raised public concern about pharmaceutical safety. In St. Louis, errant manufacturing processes were found to be the source of the outbreak. Now, if you look into Pfizer's history, I wouldn't necessarily say they're the most trusted people. You know, y'all need to look into their history. And LBC, let's read this quick. After the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccines approved for use in the UK, medical experts have revealed who is first in queue following the latest coronavirus vaccines breakthrough by Pfizer and BioNTech. Scientists at a press conference this morning confirmed who will get the Pfizer COVID vaccine first in this order. Residents in care homes and those working in care homes. We don't need the elderly people no more. Your people are long. Anyone 80 and above, and frontline workers, social care and healthcare workers. Is anyone over 35 who's clinically vulnerable, and anyone aged 70 and above. They're really trying to get rid of these old people, man. Anyone aged over 65. I wouldn't be surprised if we're trying to get rid of health workers so there's no one to help in a real pandemic. Anyone age 65, over 65, individuals age 16 to 64 with underlying health conditions. Now, notice they don't mention any so-called black Indians and so-called people, which is a group of people that they're saying are most at risk in the UK, but I believe they're covered under the fifth individual age 16 to 64 with underlying health conditions, you know, quote unquote, not living very well in bad health, bad health habits, so on and so forth. It will then go down the age groups until everyone aged 50 and above is included. It is hoped 90 to 98% of people must be at risk dying from COVID will be covered by the end of the vaccination program. Yeah, it's not looking good for me, bro. We're just gonna let's look at loopy loop first. You know, Pfizer COVID vaccine will go into use next week in the UK. Yes, thank you very much. Absolutely beautiful. First doses of Pfizer coronavirus vaccine have flown to US from Belgium. They just keep going down. Let's just read some of this crap. A lot of people don't really know what actually happened in Tuskegee. Okay, thank you. Take the vaccine. Take the vaccine. I block comments that comment but have 0 accounts. But is it a credible point that they made? Take the vaccine. So Luke was going on like he's woke. A lot of us think OJ did it too. The Willie Lynch letter is a hoax crafted in the 1970s. Man, this fake ass woke person who alkaline diets are a myth. The Olmec heads don't really look like black people. This guy's bugged the hell out, man. And everyone thought he was wokey woke. Now look at him. Take the vaccine. Hey, just to see the relevance here. Let's just read 2 Maccabees chapter 6 real quick. Not long after this, a king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of Yahweh. Lupe, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. You can equate the temple to your body and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius. Your body now belongs to E, and that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in and of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, like these effects from these Maxines they're going to give you. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circle of the holy places, and beside that brought in things that were not lawful. Like, you're not meant to put these things in your body. Yahweh controls life and death, not you, idiots. The altar was also filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. Filled with pufferfish lungs and all of this stuff, and crabfish or whatever the ingredients was in the vaccine. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. So it doesn't matter if you have a religion, you're still going to take this vaccine. And in the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices Christmas. And when the fast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices, and whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So you're going to be ostracized from society if you don't take this. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised the children, whom, when they had openly led around the city the babies, hanging at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall. And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. Now I beseech those that read this book that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation. For it is a token of his great goodness when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, who the law patiently forbeareth to punish till they come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us. So, if you're the Lord's favorite, you're going to be suffering your whole life. But these people, he lets them fill up their iniquity bottle and then he smashes it on their head. Lest that being come to the height of sin afterwards, he should take vengeance upon us. And therefore he never withdraweth his mercy from us, and though he punish with adversity, yet doth he never forsake his people. But let this that we at spoken be for a warning unto us, and now will we come to the declaring of the matter in a few words. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of well-favoured countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh, but he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth, and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behoved them to come that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. You're not supposed to love your life unto death, but they had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, besought him to eat flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. They're probably going to shoot up man like Luke with saline water, and he's going to be like, I took the vaccine, you should too. That in doing so he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favour. But he began to consider discreetly, and as become his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honour of his grey head, whereupon was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by Yahweh. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send them to the grave. For it becometh not our age, said he, in any wise to dissemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years and 90, were gone to a strange religion, and so they through mind hypocrisy desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should they be deceived by me, and I get a stain to mine old age. For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither dead or alive. You take that chip, you might live, else I go and blast your ass. Wherefore now, manfully changing his life, I will show myself such as one as mine age requireth, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honourable and holy laws. And when he said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him, changing the good will they bear him a little before into hatred, because the forced speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, It is manifest unto the Lord that have the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten, but in soul I'm well content to suffer these things because I fear him. All praises to the Most High Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS, shalom to the whole elect.